For those that don't know me, my name is Stoy. I've been running this retro video game podcast for over a year now because of my longing for nostalgia, longing for what made me happy in the past. That's what nostalgia is in the end, right? Remembering and appreciating the things that made us happy when we were young. These memories can be very specific to us, and really there's no timeline limit to our fondest memories. They could be 30 years ago, they could be 3 years ago. Argue with that with what you will, but you can't fight against anyone's specific feelings on this. Obviously, these nostalgia feelings transcend media. They could be movies, TV shows, comic books, books themselves, music, and of course, video games. They could be places you visit, people you see, foods you eat, drinks you sip. It's a powerful drug. It can do wonders for your mental health or cause a negative regression in it. For me, lately, it has caused a sense of melancholy for me. For those that don't know me, this isn't my only podcast I'm on. I'm a new host of the Hair of the Dogcast podcast, a video game podcast where we talk about all the latest video game news and updates and the new games coming out and we are currently playing. I'm still actively keeping my pulse on what's happening, and I keep playing what's new. I'm also on the Zombie Dogs podcast, where all we talk about are Resident Evil games and their associated media. The Resident Evil series is a franchise I'm quite passionate about, so I feel lucky to be part of it. I'm also on a podcast with a longtime friend called the Boss Rush Gamescast, where all we focus on are the games we're playing. Think of it like a book club, but for video games. For those that don't know me, I collect video games. A lot of video games. Granted, not in the vein of some influencers you see on your TikTok feeds and Instagram reels, but I do have a collection that is in the 2000s. Do I play all those games routinely? No, absolutely not. They're more like centerpieces and filling shelf spaces than anything anymore, but I'm grateful nonetheless to have them. It means that at any time in my life, from when I started collecting as a serious hobby to the day I leave this world, I have a limitless selection of games, both old and new, that I can play, and of course the associated hardware to play them on. Granted, there is a bit of decision paralysis that overtakes me when I stand in front of my shelves and ask myself the question, what do I play next? But I'm grateful for the choice regardless. For those that don't know me, I also wrote a divisive article a few years ago on the website bossrush.net where I made the claim that video games are not art, they're products to be sold. It was divisive for, as you can imagine, a lot of reasons. Namely, I took a medium that people love and adore, including myself, and have strong connections with, including myself, and seemingly tarnished it by claiming they're not art. I wrote a follow-up article about it, saying that we as consumers and the publishers and developers don't treat these video games as art, only as products to be sold and services that are meant to keep you hooked, engaged, and addicted to as long as they can. I've noticed this latter trend get worse and worse with every news article I read lately. Layoffs, studio closures, dormant and or failed franchises, disrespecting developers, venture capitalism getting involved in the hobby space, and even large-scale video games coming out as duds or failures all clutter our news feeds with doom on the horizon, making it just hard to look forward to anything anymore. I realize that these are 100% first world problems, and while these thoughts and feelings are valid to myself and many of you and others, they really can't stifle my joy for video games, regardless. Retro is here, and it will always be here. While companies tell us time and time again you need to buy the next big system or the next big platform and the next big game, there's still a world out there that goes against that. A world that goes against the river. A world that reminds you time and time again that new doesn't always mean better and that new isn't always necessary. I could almost say with certainty that many of you listening out there have fond memories of the old school, the retro, the games you used to play, than the systems you used to have plugged into your TVs years and years ago. You remember the couches, the chairs, the floors you used to sit on, the feelings of holding those controllers in your hands, the sights of the flickering pixels and polygons on your screen, the sounds coming out of your TV speakers or stereo systems. You remember the people that you used to play with, the family, the friends, the new friends that you met, the enemies, the people that you didn't like after playing these video games. You now also remember the feelings, the anxieties, the suspense, the anger and frustration, the sadness, but also the joy, the happiness, the elation, relief, and the ecstasy of it all. And I don't know about you, but that's really what video gaming is to me. That's what it's all about. Sprawling AAA games with meaty gameplay mechanics, photorealistic graphics, top-tier acting, animation, long, endless, looping gameplay just aren't enough to satisfy anymore. While great and serve their place in the ecosystem of video games, I am thoroughly enjoying currently the Ghost of Yotei and other hyper-realistic games of the like. That's not what solely drives me to continue in the medium. Fun is the driving factor, the driving force behind why I play. And I feel that video game developers and publishers have currently forgotten what that entails. Nowadays, you hear about video games primarily needing to return profit, and a hefty one at that, in order for any publisher to back your game. While this story is prevalent amongst big-name publishers, most notably recently with Ubisoft scrapping over 10 games that were currently in active development due to needing to, quote, prioritize short-term returns, and Microsoft themselves not prioritizing their own hardware exclusives and taking well-established first-party franchises and spreading them across the ecosystem to maximize profits while lying to your faces saying, we want to give gamers more places to play our games. Video games are a business, plain and simple. And they have been for a long time, even in the 80s when things were kicking off. You can go back and listen to my Video Game Crash episode from 1983 that almost doomed our favorite pastime forever. Anywhere that venture capitalists and people with money see money to be made, they jump in and they want a piece of that pie. That's why we see predatory gaming more prevalent now than ever before. Forever games are prioritized over short-form games, with more emphasis placed on addictive and predatory gaming mechanics that are designed to keep players engaged, invested, and wanting more, and keeping them coming back for more. While we've seen many stories of, quote, live service games coming out more and more recently that fill these molds, like Fortnite, Overwatch, Call of Duty, Arc Raiders, Grand Theft Auto 5, and so on, one can't argue against what the sales numbers bring. The top 10 games sold last year were primarily these live service-oriented games that prioritized addictive gameplay that brings players back again and again, and also prioritize microtransactions that are predatory and addictive in a sense to where, it's only a couple bucks, when over time, a couple bucks leads to a lot more than that. One game out of last year's top 10 sales of 2025 was an exclusive single-player game, and was a remaster of all things, Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remaster. The rest of the games had single-player experiences, but prioritized multiplayer components over everything else. When businessmen and women and big companies and publishers want to maximize profits, they want to see what's making money right now. And to be frank, it's not retro, it's not single-player, and it's not short and self-contained games. For those that want to, you can join me in this relatively small echo chamber of content creators and self-proclaimed video game experts and say that this isn't what gamers want these days. For every 10 content creators that play live service games like Warzone, Fortnite, and Battlefield 6, only one plays something retro or even something single player. Argue with me all you want and tell me I'm wrong. I honestly don't care, because I see the writing on the wall and I've seen the medium evolve from prioritizing fun to prioritizing engagement. I've seen developers make games based off of mechanics themselves and fun gameplay to making games based on addictive gameplay loops. And I realize this all makes me sound like a boomer, a guy that says it was better back in my day, into the ether and lamenting of what things used to be, how things used to be better. In reality, it wasn't always like that. Not every retro game is great, and not every retro game is fun. There was a limited amount of games vying for our attention and clamoring for our hard-earned dollars. The ecosystem was small dedicated teams and passionate developers that took risks, that tried new things, and not recycling the same crap everyone else was doing at the time. They were pioneers that paved the way for developers now and walked so everyone now could run. Now, where does this lead me? I mean, what's the point in all this? The video game content creator space is a vast echo chamber of, like I said before, self-proclaimed experts that think what they say is gospel, and it's almost like creating one's own religious group or cult. You gain followers who believe in your gospel and flood your comments section with nods of agreement and blind belief. What this says about content creators or even the fans, I'll leave up to your interpretation, although I'm sure you can read between the lines there. I myself am a content creator, and what people think of me are pretty much up to them. I'm not an expert. I'm not a professional. I'm not that smart. And I'm not that well versed in the world as I lead myself to believe. I'm just a dumbass with a microphone and editing ability to post my content out there in the world to delude myself into thinking I know it all, that I have all the answers, and that video games can be, quote, saved by my own interpretations and observations. The truth is, I'm nothing. I'm a nobody in this space. And while I'm grateful for you listening to me, and grateful for you following along, and maybe even agreeing with me, I'm still just a dumbass with a microphone, and I really honestly don't know why I feel compelled to share my thoughts and feelings. But I'm passionate about the video game space. The video games are very important to me in my life, and I feel like I want to talk about them in a more honest and raw manner, which is why you're getting an episode like this, something a little bit different than what I've done in the past. And like I tried to start out by saying, this leads me to why I'm preferring retro to modern these days. More and more video games are being released year after year than at any time in our history, which reminds me that within those numbers are great games that will always stand the tests of time. Games that will always be good no matter what, and games that will always be fun and bring back fond memories to you, or even new ones. The vast collection of media within the video game space is vast, and there's something for everyone here. You just have to dig, and you just have to try it. There are more and more ways now than ever to enjoy this space, from buying and collecting old hardware and games for those purists out there like myself, to emulation for those that just want to tread the waters. There's no wrong way. And while I prefer my collection of physical media and hardware over everything else, I also smile at those who emulate. The prevailing thought to me behind why I don't mind emulation is that retro video games are now primarily in the hands of the third market. The resellers, the pawn shops, the garage sales, the retro video game stores. The developers and publishers don't make money on these retro video games anymore, which, as we've known and proven already, is nowhere near a profitable business to publishers. So play the games the way you want to play them. In conclusion, and in case you don't know me by now, I play retro games because I have fun with them. I play video games in general because I want to have fun with them. And there are so many examples of fun games from the past that hold up today and have stood the test of time. And even many games out there that I've never played before that are waiting for my attention and waiting for me to pick up and play. Video games nowadays prioritize profit margins, engagement, addictive gameplay loops, sprawling gameplay mechanics, and microtransaction that create a system where developers and publishers can make short-term gains and long-term investments on behalf of the players, or actually I should say consumers. Video games are products meant to be consumed and ingested. And while there are many examples of indie games out there in the ecosystem that are developed for the love of the game, pun intended, and prioritize fun gameplay, they're not what the average consumer is after. The numbers don't lie. And while I said before, you can argue all you want about how video games are pure art and made with the artist's interpretations in mind, the majority of what we see coming out now are designed to entrap and create addiction. Older games were designed for good drop-in and drop-out gameplay, and were made as fun bubblegum for the brain media that framed our memories and nostalgia. This is why many of us have such fond nostalgic memories of retro. We remember when it was all about fun.